Hello and welcome to Invisible Not Broken. This is our episode with Tisha Foster.
All right, Tisha, I'm so excited to talk to you. It's the day after New Year's Eve, and we just started talking about I just said hello, how are you? You're like, I am so grateful I made it through another year. I'm like, well, we're just going to start right in on this podcast. So let's talk about gratitude first and foremost. I was going to start somewhere else, but let's talk about, the assumption is we're chronically ill, we're disabled. And apparently we're supposed to be very, very, very depressed about that. Let's talk about some gratitude.
Ooh, gratitude. The gratitude is everything. I'm humble. I am thankful and grateful. I always say, if you want to hear my story, then you want to hear me talk about God, because that's the only way I'm here to tell you my story. That's where my gratitude comes from. He gives it to me. I feed off that energy. I'm just grateful.
I think we're going to have a really great conversation, and I want everyone to know that we are coming from two different places, but I don't think that means that we can't have a really beautiful conversation about this. So while I'm more spiritual, not religious, I am not going to censor any of this discussion, and I think that it applies for everyone, whether you are religious or not. I think everything you're saying, we can absolutely all take a beat to listen to, whatever you feel is bigger than you or anything. And I think that's a really interesting place to start. So tell me about the gratitude of this year was hard. I don't know if it was hard for you. For me, this year has left me spinning and a little despondent, but I also spent yesterday feeling incredibly grateful. So I want to hear about you.
Okay, I gotta piggyback that. I'm super grateful because 2024, nobody's seen it, even on social media. But I struggled. I fell into a depression. But when you see me, you seen a smile. So when they say check on your loved ones or check on your friends, like really, 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 no one knew what I was going. I had a so high and crazy low, and no one knew unless I told them. But if you look me in my face, you'll say, "Hey, she's good." But in deep down, and internally, I was going through a lot. My son, it was prom, his senior prom. It was, and I'm super excited. This is my first time. This is my first experience. You're never gonna get. And it was his prom. It was graduation, barbecue. Then it was, college tours, and then he chose a college. I'm college shopping. He turned 18. And then I get hit with, you're a diabetic. So my weight was normally so of course that we're talking because I have stiff person syndrome lives in me, right? So not just stiff person syndrome, it's stiff person syndrome and it's Graves' disease. That's what I had first. So my weight will fluctuate regardless. Since 2010, I would have this fluctuating weight. However, the weight loss was it was becoming drastic, like what in the world? And they told me I was type 2 diabetic. Okay. Me, I'm so faithful. I know who God is. I know what he can do. I know how he works on me because I can only tell you about me. I know what he does to me and for me with my body. So what I did was I leaned on him. But no one knew when I went to go purchase an outfit that I said to my son, always, I'm just gonna go let them tailor the outfit because I really liked it. And she said to me when I tried it on, she said, "Well, you paid for this. What I'm gonna charge you to alter this, you might as well send it back." And I went and took it off, and I went in the room and just broke down crying because that's how much weight I had lost.
So let's talk about that for just a minute, because I have been so guilty in the past because I've had such issues with my weight, and I always am like, "Oh, you're skinny. You must be so, yay, you! Congratulations!" And I was that person. I really regret feeling and speaking in that way. Can you
Mhm.
talk a little bit about like that sort of well-meaning but stupid things that people say when you lose weight and you're sick, and you're like, "Yeah, this is not an upside."
I don't really get okay, so I was small growing up. So if you knew me back in the day, you'll think that that was normal. I went from 170 pounds to 130 pounds. So I really didn't get the legit of you lost weight, you lost weight because people that knew me knew the situation. So it was more, I don't like a pity party, but it was more of a, oh, I understand she lost weight because of Graves' disease. That's what they think. And Graves' disease is a thyroid disorder. So for the most part, because like I said, since 2010, my weight been fluctuating. But when it was drastic, I guess they thought that it was just a drastic weight loss and it had nothing to do with anything else. But it was a drastic weight loss because now I'm dealing with not just the Graves, the stiff person syndrome. It's now Graves' disease and diabetes. So I'm dealing with two autoimmune disorders that's gonna make my weight drop. So they told me I was type 2 diabetic. I moved to Charlotte from Raleigh, and they told me I was type 1, but I was type 1.5 only because it wasn't what I was eating. It's my autoimmune system.
Wow. That's a lot to put on some shoulders. You had
Yeah.
said that you come across as usually very capable, bubbly, and people don't necessarily know what's going on. And I feel like I really empathize with that. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about struggling publicly. We live in a world where people are posting whether they're drinking a Diet Coke in the afternoon or not. Like we've gotten to this point where we put our diaries out for the world to see, and yet I think a
Mhm.
lot of us still struggle with how much is authentic, how much do I put out there. There's a lot of issues there. Where do you fall on this? The most vulnerable gazelle, just sort of like hopping along, making sure the lions think they're the healthiest.
I'll put it out there.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm as candid as I can be. I'm as candid as I can be.
And
I
what have you
always
noticed from that? Have you noticed that more people feel less lonely, or have you noticed that people? I mean, people can be mean on the internet.
what people say. Even me wearing heels, they'll ask me, "Am I faking wearing heels?" Because heels, are not a thing when SPS is living in your body. I mean, God is using me for them. So I'm allowing him to use me. Yes, I wear heels. I wear heels every chance I get. Yes, absolutely.
I was going to go in a different direction, but let's go with the heels for a second because I almost never put an effort. But if I'm wearing makeup, it's my armor. It's because I feel like I can barely hold myself together. And this is my, nope, I at least got my hairbrush, makeup is on. Yes, I can do this. Why are the heels so important for you?
Because I was an ex-model. I love the way it made me feel. I love the way it made me walk. I love the way it made me stand. Like everything about it, every essence of a woman, I love that feeling.
It's funny. I haven't worn heels in probably about 20 years, but I do remember wearing them, and like it really sort of like sets your walk in a certain way. It sets your hips and your shoulders in a certain way. I'm Ehlers-Danlos, so if I twist anything, I'm out for months. So
You're
ballet
fine.
flats. But I understand what you're saying, and I think that there's just sort of this. We give up so. At least I feel like I've given up so much to this disability, but there's moments where I just want to feel that pretty and power again, and
Mhm.
there's got to be some ways to compromise that into a wellness plan.
Yeah, I guess. But I don't know. I do it. Yeah, that's exactly why I do it because I like the way I love the way I look. I love my stature in heels. Um,
I want to underline that for a second because I mean, you're much younger than I am, but I grew up at a time where we didn't get to say we were pretty. You didn't want to be tall. You wanted to like fit this sort of like Kate Moss aesthetic. And I love when I hear other people who are coded feminine who are saying, I love how I look. I would have died before I said that until I hit 40. So I'm so happy to hear that from you.
Thank you.
You had said to check in on happy people, and I want to hear about what that would look like for you. It's like, you know, a lot of people can look code like, I'm fine, I've got this, I have my faith, I have my power, I have my community, I'm good. How do you have people check in on you in a way that feels good to you? What can someone who has something like that in their life do for them that you think would be helpful?
So you know what I like most? I like when my fellow SPSers, SPS family reach out to me. That really lets me know when they say the bullhorn and stilettos.
Love that. And please put those in your
That I'm
profile.
rocking it. I'm rocking it. When they reach out to me, it does everything to me. Like my family members, they'll pick up the phone and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" And my friends will be like, "Hey, you good?" My boys, they're on it all the time. However, I love when my fellow SBS family reach out to me.
So what does that look
It
like
makes
for
me
you?
feel like I'm really doing something. Like they see me, they hear me. I'm talking about it. I got the bullhorn. I want everybody to know this is what it is. This is what we go through. So yeah, that makes me feel good.
And what kind of thing would reaching out look like for you? Like I hate talking. I would rather do anything than talk on the phone. But I love like texting, and my love
Text
language
messages.
is sending articles to people like, hey, I know you like chickens. Here's a chicken meme. Like that's my love language. I did that to my niece yesterday. There was this adorable thing about like chickens and Pride and Prejudice, and I lost my mind and sent it to my niece on New Year's. And bless her little heart, she sent me right back. And she was out partying, and she still sent me back something. What does that look like to you for the kind of care
I
you want
like
to
text
receive?
messages. I like email.
Yeah.
I like DMs. Hit me up on social media. I mean, that works for me.
I
Yeah.
hear that. For me, text messages, I lose energy so quickly, and it's so fluctuating that a phone call is my horror, as I have to think on the spot. But like texting is so much easier for me because I can put my phone down for 10 minutes and bring it back. Do you feel similar?
Yes, and then I feel like I can go back to it if I felt like I wanted to read it again. So that's why I like those
That
kind of
one. Oh
that
my gosh.
communication.
Do you get brain
Yeah.
fog?
No.
Oh, okay. I just like as a mom, like it almost helps just to have the text message just because I can go, oh no. Child, you said this. I have the proof. I have the receipts. It's right here, my friend. Okay, so we're on two different minds there. I get it. No problem.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm not there yet. Even though I'm 52, I'm not with the brain fog yet.
oh no, I just meant for disorders. Like my disorder comes with severe brain fog, and then
Okay.
stress and a teenager. Yeah, a teenager and a young adult has me a little twitchy, but they're
Okay.
adorable. But yeah, twitchy. Bless their hearts. I love them so much. They're so cute, which is their survival mechanism. But it has left me like I was almost going for my PhD, and now I can't remember anything. I was smart once, I swear. There is proof. I have receipts for this. Um, okay, I am going to go back to the original things I was going to talk to you about because I am so good at getting off topic. You have a disorder which became really famous lately. I believe Celine Dion also has the same disorder. Is that right?
Sure.
But I don't think a lot of people are very educated on this. And I am guessing your road to diagnosis was not the smoothest road. Do you want to talk a little bit about what it took to actually getting that diagnosis? Because rare diseases aren't like, hey, doctor, I have this and this and this symptom. And then Dr. House comes in and is like, we will solve this by the end of the episode.
Okay, so 2000, the end of 2009, going into 2010. I partied hard, and my body. Okay, so I'm gonna skip that part. I'm just gonna go straight to to the doctors and stuff like that. Because if you read the book, then you know that part. However, my back was hurting at first, right? And I'm like, dang, but I thought it was my back. I thought it was my back at first. But then I realized it was my torso. It was the trunk of my stomach. That wasn't allowing me. It was my muscles that weren't allowing me to bend. So it affected my limbs, my leg limbs. I used to have to pull myself up to get up the steps. I used to hold on to the banister. And then I went to the doctor one day and they thought it was my back, like I did. And I went to physical therapy, but she couldn't loosen my stomach by even pulling my legs to pull my legs up, thinking that was going to help my back. But my legs were stiff and she couldn't pull them up. And we thought that was weird because I never realized that my legs were so stiff. And I went back they sent me back like something else is going on. So we did blood work, extensive blood work, and then my body, transforming into whatever it was going to do with the stiffness. One leg, because one side became weak, so my right leg began to drag. So my foot, you could see the toe of my foot would the color of the shoe would be coming off because I'd be dragging my. So now they're concerned, like, wait, so my first diagnosis was MS.
Yep, that sounds like that would be the first one. And that's so weird because getting an MS diagnosis is a nightmare.
So my first diagnosis was MS. That was dead on MS. Once my body, because it was progressing like really, really fast. And they shot me with MS. Then some other stuff started going on as far as light spasms and what else was going on? Light spasms. Oh, the sensitivity, because it comes with triggers. The triggers started, and that was sensitive to light, sensitive to loud noise, sensitive to startle, stress. That wasn't in the game with MS. However, they went back to the drawing board, and it took them 2 years. However, when I was diagnosed in 2011. 2011, from late 2009 to 2011. I was diagnosed 2011 in November with stiff man syndrome. It wasn't stiff person syndrome. It was stiff man syndrome. So I've been living with this, and I have to reword that. It's been living in me since 2009. They kept saying it was MS, MS, MS. And I say it's living with me because I don't let it control my life anymore. I took control over it. But it was living in my body since 2009, and it just progressed.
Can we stop for just 1 second? Because I want to go back to that. I've never heard anyone describe their illness as that way. Can you elaborate a little bit? Because my brain's a little blown right now. That's fascinating. Okay. So you're living it's living in you. So I feel like the way we talk about illness is, I have this. It almost feels like I am this. That's amazing. Say it again one more time for me, please, because I feel like I need to tattoo it somewhere.
It doesn't. It lives in me. I don't live with it.
Wow.
It doesn't control my body no longer. And that's by the grace of God as well. But it doesn't control my body. When it was controlling my body, I couldn't walk. I was bedbound. When it was controlling my body, I couldn't wear heels. When it was controlling my body, I couldn't drive. When it was controlling my body, I couldn't be a mom. When it was controlling my body, I was contemplating suicide. It no longer controls who I am. I am Tisha Foster. It no longer controls my body. By the grace of God, I am who I am. No, I'm not completely healed, However, I know who I am, and I know what I can do. I know if I ask God, He'll definitely grant me. Prayer
I'm
works.
just so intrigued. It's like language matters so much. The way we talk about things is the story we build in
Exactly.
our
I speak healing
heads.
of my body every day.
That's a beautiful thing. And like just the idea of, because I feel like I'm fighting with or I'm battling with. I'm like, I don't want to battle with myself. I've battled myself for most of my life. I'm done fighting me. I love this idea of like I'm living with it
No,
resides.
it lives in
It's
me.
yeah. Wow. Thank you for that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like cut your story short, but that
Yes,
just
yes.
blew the top of my head off a bit there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
please
It
continue
lives
about
in me.
your journey. I and thank you
Yeah.
for the new wisdom there.
Ask for that every day. Yeah. So yeah, it progressed, and like I said, they in Brooklyn, New York, I was the very first person in 2011 diagnosed with stiff man syndrome. And they said, I told you, if you knew me from back then, I was always been a thin woman, like thin person, woman, girl, whatever. Um, so they said it was designed for um athlete built men, and here I am, a woman in petite. They weren't understanding it, neither was I at all.
So how did they get to the answer? What kind of tests do they do to get an answer for something like this?
I don't know what test they've done. However, I know I've seen a lot of specialists,
Mm,
neurologists. Like they were bringing neurologists in from everywhere. Every time I went to the hospital, I had my regular neurologist, and then I had another one over here. Every time I went, trying for 2 years, trying to figure out what was going on with my body. Then they see me with they gave me a sorry,
you're
they
good.
gave me they gave me a cane. Gave me a cane because now my leg is dragging. Now my leg is dragging, and then you know what they did? They checked my they checked my GAD levels,
Okay.
and they were really, really high.
How did
And
it feel to
that's
get the diagnosis though? Did you like how did it's I sat in my parking lot like after I got the diagnosis. I was 36 by the time I got a proper diagnosis and I sobbed in my car. I was overjoyed. I was terrified. I called my mother immediately. I'm like, "We weren't crazy. We are crazy, but not about this." How did that present for you?
um my first question was, is it fatal?
Mm,
I have 2 kids, 2 boys, and that was my concern. Was it fatal? Um, I was in denial for a little while. I didn't even tell anyone. I didn't tell anyone, but I needed so much help, but I didn't tell anyone. Um, and that's where I went wrong, and I felt like I was extremely selfish to my whole community, my
can you talk
family,
about that for a
my
second?
friends.
As people wouldn't think of that as being a selfish thing. Why
Yeah,
would that be selfish?
because I had kids and I needed help. I couldn't walk. I couldn't walk. I needed help. And
I'm so glad you talked about that. Yeah.
and for me not to say anything, I'm an only child. I didn't know whether it was fatal or not. They didn't know whether it was fatal or not. And for me not to say anything, if something, God forbid, if something would have happened, they wouldn't have known nothing. Like what's going on? So I didn't hide it. I just didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't hiding it, but I just didn't know what to say.
So
So I
how
just
did you
didn't
come
say
out of the
anything.
disability closet? Like what was your journey out of that disability closet?
My book.
Yep, that was one heck of it
Like,
out of the closet. Like, here's my book that I wrote. That does not get much more of a closet explosion than that.
what's the that was my here you go. This is what I've been going through, and I haven't been saying anything. Here it is. So yeah, the book.
We are definitely going to discuss the book. And for all of our listeners, if you go to our show notes, there'll be a direct link to purchase the book. We will definitely get there. I want to talk about your boys for a second, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
I think our kids are actually kind of close in age. But you have
18.
I've got
big
one.
gap.
Yeah, I don't have quite as big of a gap as mine, but my baby just is starting college and everything. And
Right.
you talked a little bit about in another interview I read through the disparity between explaining your disorder to your older son. And I don't know how many years there is apart, but they're definitely developmentally different spaces.
14.
14 years? Wow. Yeah, that is a gap. Talking to your older and your younger son about what was going on. And if you feel comfortable with this, do you want to talk a little bit about what you did that you felt worked really well for them, and what you did where you're like, if I could have a do-over, this is how I would do it differently?
I would have done it no different.
Then please give
I
us
would
some
have.
advice, because a lot of us are struggling with how we talk about our disabilities to our kids. It's two
Okay.
different ways you have to talk to kids. When you're talking about someone who's like, I think he was 4, right, when you were diagnosed?
My baby, yeah.
And that's a very different conversation than someone who's 18.
So my 18-year-old, okay, so let me just say this to you. My kids, they didn't know, like I didn't know. 2011, December 2011, I had a thyroid storm because I was diagnosed with stiff man syndrome and Graves' disease at the same time, right? I had a thyroid storm. A thyroid storm is when your windpipe closes up, your thyroid's enlarged and your windpipe closes up. So I'm fighting for life, and they see me on the ground. And the only 2 people that's there are my boys. I was taking my 4-year-old to school. Taking my 4-year-old to school, who I struggled with every single day, still trying to drive, still trying to be a mom. I never wanted to stop being a mom. I prayed to be a mom. And neither one of them really knew what was going on. They knew I dragged around the house, but I really couldn't tell them anything except for that, and until that day. After that day, I explained to my oldest that my body was going through some changes, and it was gonna have me, because they told me they had already, after the hospital, they told me I was gonna be bedbound. Then I started researching it myself, what these people talking about. But then I realized, oh wow, this is bigger than me. I need help. But then I explained to my oldest before I explained to my youngest. For my youngest, I made it a game. For my oldest, I explained to him, I don't know if I'm gonna be here tomorrow. And then I explained to him, my body is going through some stuff that I really can't explain, because I don't even know. The doctors are not even sure. And what he said was okay, because he already mentally was going through his own thing after seeing me on the floor, getting into the ambulance with me and taking me to the hospital with a thyroid storm. My oldest. My youngest seen me in the ambulance through the window, crying his eyeballs out, wanting to come with me. But my godfather took him away and took him to their house. But yeah, explaining to my oldest, he was already like, I don't even want to know. I don't want to deal with it. Like, after he took me to the hospital and he seen him putting all these tubes and all of that, what he said to me, he kissed me, he said, "Mom, I can't see you like this." And he left. He left. Yeah. So he didn't want to deal with it.
I'm
My
struggling with whether to
youngest,
ask you a question about that or not, because I want to be so mindful of your son
no,
and his privacy.
please,
Okay. I'm going to try to say this the best way I can because I have all the empathy in the world for your baby and for you. And I just want to help other people with, because this is something that happens. Sometimes people, even the people you love and the people who love you, can't do the thing you need from them. How do you help them forgive themselves? How do you help them through that journey? If this is something you're like, hey, we cut this, you tell me and I will cut this out. But I know you are not the only person who's like, yeah, and I still have to, like, that's the thing with our babies is they sometimes do things that are really hard on us and for us, and it's part of their growth. So how do you like help them through that decision where like, because you still have to help them even though they're like hurting you sometimes.
No, that he did hurt me. Like, love my kids. That was and still is, believe it or not. It's an uphill battle. I still struggle. We still struggle. He'll go without checking up on me. He'll go without calling me. He has 2 kids. He just do not want to deal with what life,
Mm,
you know, the cards I was dealt with. He don't want to deal with it. He don't deal with any of it, no part of it. And if you've read the book, I didn't talk about him in the book. So a lot of people think I only have 1 kid, but I have 2. It's just that the enemy had a hold on him, and the enemy had a hold on me too.
mm,
And I couldn't do anything about it because I'm fighting my own demon, and he's fighting a demon as well. So it was easier for him to just walk away. And he's slowly turning back right now. December, he's slowly turning back. But he left me for a very long time. He left me for a very long time. It hurt like hell. But I knew that I had to be a mom to Jalen.
mm.
That's the baby boy. So I knew I had to be a mom to Jalen. It wasn't that I forgot about him. I just had to put him to the side. I put him on the altar. I gave him to God, and I dealt with what was in front of me. What was in front of me was Jalen. So I had to make sure. And he always say to me, even when you couldn't be a mom, you were a mom.
Mm.
I
So
would
talk to me about,
hibernate.
oh,
Go ahead.
I want to get to the hibernation because like we have a thing we call darling slug days in my household where it's my daughter and I curl up with like our iPad and we like do Pinterest and we call them slug days and we will totally get to that. I want to hear about that game though. How did you turn this into something that a 4-year-old could digest?
Turned his whole life into a game.
Okay.
Life was a game for him at that age.
Yeah, it very
I
much
didn't.
is.
Because now it's taken over my walking ability.
Hmm.
So I'm crawling. So now everything is a game because I'm crawling. He's little. He's 4. What do you want to do? You want to play? So that's all I could do was play and play. I was already on my knees. That's how I was getting around, on my knees. So I made his whole life a game. His whole Tyler was a game.
That's amazing. I love that. And the thing is I think that with motherhood, it comes with its own biological guilt and fear. And I don't know if you felt it, but when I was so sick, I couldn't do the things the other moms were doing. I couldn't volunteer in the classroom. I passed out walking my daughter to school. Like there was like, it was scary. I couldn't take them to the playground. I wasn't even supposed to drive for a while. And then I find out now that they're almost adults. Well, they are adults. I'm still in denial, but they're like, no, we love this. Like we didn't want you to be sick, but you would cuddle us and watch Doctor Who for the entire day. None of our friends' parents had the time. They weren't there. They were out working and providing. And, you were here snuggling and doing art with us. And I was like, so I guilted myself for all those years for that. Like I was actually winning. What?
Really? I began to resent my mom, even though she stepped up to help me a lot with him. Um, I wanted him. I was this when I had the first one. I was 20 when I had The second one, I was 34. So I was ready to be a mom. And my mom would go to the school with him, like everything I wanted to do.
Mm.
I did it with my oldest, but I wanted to do it with him too. No, I couldn't go on those school trips. I couldn't do movie night with him at school because my spine, I was basically spineless. So I couldn't sit up straight like I am right now. I would just go back. And they would have movie night, you sit on the floor, watch movies at school. No trips. I couldn't do any trips. I couldn't. So I was beginning to become resentful against my mom because she was helping me, but I wanted to do it. Yeah. That and I mean, that's another selfish thing, but that's my story.
That I wish schools would actually have a little bit more understanding about disability, and that parents and families look very different from some other families. I almost couldn't go to my daughter's graduation because they didn't have wheelchair access.
Um,
And I don't know if you've ever tried the parent teacher nights from a wheelchair, but trying to get from like classrooms to classrooms to classrooms in a wheelchair, I had to call my cousin and be like, I need you to pull in for mine because I can't get to any of these places. And the classrooms weren't wheelchair accessible. And so it's really interesting that these schools, which are doing really beautiful things, having things like family movies, those are great, but they also need to make some adjustments to make sure that everyone can attend.
so let me tell you about my wheelchair experience because they told me I was going to be bedbound, mobile in a wheelchair, and I was bedbound for a little while. And I didn't want to get in a wheelchair. So I would pray to God, like, I don't want to get in a wheelchair. I want to get up and walk. I want to walk. God, please just let me walk. Just let me walk. And regardless if I was having a muscle spasm or I need to go to the hospital, I became a faller. And I would never get in a wheelchair. And then one day, this lady put me in a wheelchair and I was leaving the hospital and I told her, I said, I'm not ready. I had a muscle spasm. And I told her, I said, I'm not ready to get in a wheelchair. I need to lay down for a second. I know my own body now. And I said, I need to, this was 20, this was 2014. I said, I don't want to get in a wheelchair yet. I need to continue to lay down for a little while. I feel my body is trembling. She said, no, you discharge. You can go. She put me in a wheelchair. I was so mad at her. And then when I got out the wheelchair to get in the car, I had a muscle spasm. And she tried to, when she seen me having a muscle spasm, I'm shaking, 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 and my head is going back, and my legs is kicking, and I'm in the car. She helped put me in the car, and then she was like, oh my gosh, I need to get her out, I need to get her out. I slammed the door right in her face because I told her I wasn't ready.
I have so many things I want to talk to you about. Are running short on time, and it's killing me because I want to talk to you about wheelchairs, and I want to talk to you about staying sane while you're bedbound. And I need to talk about your book. So I'm going to try to prioritize because I could keep you
Okay.
here all day, and I so would kidnap you. I'm having way too much fun chatting with you. Let's talk just for a little bit about staying sane while bedbound, because disability is something that's open to all. We are an open invitation club. Most people at some time will become bedbound and they're not prepared for how to thrive from bed. How were you able to, or were you able to? It's like 70% of my life is in my bed. I'm actually like, this is my only time out of bed is to sit here and talk to you. I'm going to go right back in it.
Okay.
How did you
Sorry.
thrive or stay? Thank you. I have my feelings about it, and they change drastically minute to minute on how I feel about any of it. How did you keep going in bed? Like, were you able to find things that entertained you, that kept you alert and involved in the world? Because that's the hardest part from bed, is how do you cast a shadow in the world?
It was a struggle at first, and that's why I was contemplating suicide because that wasn't the life that I wanted. And then I realized again, it would be selfish of me to take my own life because Now I'm really leaving my kids with my mom. And it would be selfish of me because I am an only child. And it wouldn't be right if I took myself from any of them, neither one of them. So I struggle with it though. Like I said, I contemplated suicide. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I timed it. And I knew when she took my kids to school, I was going to do it. And when she came back, I was going to be gone. And when I decided to do it, turned over and I seen a huge picture of me and my son that I still have right now today. He was like 6 months old. We did a photo shoot. And I looked at that picture and I said, oh my gosh, I wanted this boy so bad. And I heard God say, daughter, live. I want you to live.
Your story is
And
what scares me, is because we're having so many people now who have long COVID. We have a lot of people, like I've been sick my whole life since I was a kid. So being in bed, that's so normal for me. I missed most of my 6th grade year from being in bed. So I don't mind it the way that other people do because it's my normal. And your story is what terrifies me because we haven't educated the general public in the ability to thrive in disability. And it's perfectly possible to live a very purposeful, exciting, and fun life, even if you're in bed 24/7. And I'm so afraid when I hear these stories of people who are like, I felt suicidal. I totally understand why. That makes all the sense in the world because we haven't educated people in these skills, because living from bed is a skill set and thriving from bed is a master class.
I feel like just because we live with a disability doesn't mean we can't be a productive citizen. We can still be
Exactly.
productive citizens.
Exactly. And that's what I mean, I actually thought of going back for my PhD in psychology to help with some of the policies in, because we don't talk about it in a way that helps. And our media is like, hey, you're disabled and in bed, you should probably consider not being here anymore. And that's what all of our movies are and our TV shows. And I really want to work on that with people. So thank you so much for your story. That's such an important thing, but it fires me up even more. Like we need to get the word out that there's so much life here, even from bed. There's a lot of excitement and joy there.
Absolutely.
I need to make sure we talk about your book because I still have like another like 20 things to ask you, and we're getting close to an hour. So we are going to go right into your book. I want to hear about what made you choose to do this. I want to hear about the actual ins and outs of writing a book when you're sick. And you wrote about yourself. So I kind of want to hear about how the people around you were able to handle being a character in a book that was from your perspective.
Well, what made me write the book is I actually made a promise to God. I said, God, if you can, this is so crazy, trying to bargain with God. Can you imagine? Sheesh. But that was what made me write it. And then I have a second one coming out. However, I tried to bargain with God. I said, God, if you allow me to walk again, I'll tell the world. I do travel a lot, but there's no way I can tell the world I'm traveling. So I decided to write the book. And it has done very well.
So tell me about writing a book. Like, give me the ins and outs. I'm a fiction writer, so I have no idea about trying to write like real life. I'd rather disappear into the fantasy world of dragons. So did you like use Scrivener, or how did you decide where to begin? Because there's going to be people who listen to this who want on their New Year's resolution is going to be, I'm going to write my story. So let's talk to those people. They've decided they're going to write their story this year. What's your advice?
It's tough because then you have to relive the really, really bad stuff that you experienced. Like I went and I went into depth about, and I missed a couple of things, and they did say that like when you write your first book, you know, if you've gone through years of trauma, you're gonna forget some of the stuff, which, you know, a lot of times we put stuff in the back of our head and then we do forget. However, it was really, really hard, but I had to push through it every day. I cried writing it because I couldn't believe that it was me I was talking about, that this was my body. This was now my life. Back then, that's how I was feeling. Like, this is my life. This is life for me. Um, and my family was super, 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 super excited for me. Like, you don't even know how many people you're gonna help. Being so honest and telling your truth, and even it was ugly. It was very, very ugly. But I had a lot of I had a lot of support, friends and family, even people that read it. Will leave a review, emails, and oh my gosh, it's like I did something right. I did something right. They get it. They get it. They know, but we all deal with it different. We deal with it differently. Not everybody live with Graves' disease. Not everybody live with diabetes. Not it comes with uh cancer. It comes with I know somebody that it developed cancer. I know somebody that it developed uh what is it she go to seizures. It comes with so much. It comes with so much.
So where do you
Yeah.
start? Like, if you're like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write about my medical journey, my history. How do you get all of those things together? Do you sit there with like little note cards and just start writing things down note cards, and then so I'm old, so like that's how I used to write my papers, was I would write like on note cards and then shuffle them around. How did you do
Yeah.
that? Like, how do you figure out where to start? And
I think most and I think the best and I make the best decisions in the shower. So I speak it. I speak
brilliant.
it.
That's a great advice. Yes.
Yeah, I speak it. So I don't know. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because the worst times I had were either in the middle of the street or in the shower. When those spasms would come. But when I'm in the shower today, I and I also make my best decisions when I'm afraid.
That's interesting. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I get it done when I'm afraid, and there's no such thing as being scared. But when I'm concerned, I make my best decisions. When I'm concerned, um, everything goes right. Be- I don't know why that is. I don't know why that is. Yeah,
That is fascinating. So how long did it take you to finish writing?
it took me a year, only because I had to cry it out, and crying it out was healing.
I'm almost hearing you say, if you're going to write your story, please make sure you have either a therapist, a trusted friend, a group of trusted friends. How about you just get an entire circle of people around you just to hug you while you cry with Kleenex? I feel like that's the advice here. This feels like
Oh
a
my goodness.
community upholding effort. I'm definitely realizing why I didn't want to write my story. I do not have that group of support.
um, my son is very supportive, and always have been. If you even go through my social media to the bottom, I wasn't able to cross the street. He's been very, very patient with me. So if I miss something, he'll give it back to me.
Mm.
And he's been doing that his whole life. So he is my motivation. And he just keeps me going. He keeps me going.
Kids with disabled moms are special creatures. Like, they are, my daughter is, and my son too, they are so helpful. But my daughter's always like, okay, mom, do you have your meds? Do you have your KT tape? Mom, did we pack the wheelchair? Do we have is the battery charged? I'm like,
Yeah,
when I was 18, I was not nearly this nice child. I don't know what karma came in to decide I got mine wiped clean, but I was not this nice at 18.
yeah.
Okay.
He's if you read the book or if you didn't read the book, get the book, My Journey with God through Stiff Person Syndrome on Amazon. Um, it will definitely give you a highlight of life and what not to take for granted.
We all walk around for so, like, even healthy people who like have kids, and then everyone's like, no, enjoy every minute. And I remember looking at these people like, are you insane? I haven't brushed my teeth. I haven't slept in like 5 days. You want me to enjoy every minute? Like, it's just
Yeah,
this constant, like, appreciating what you have, but we're always in the thick of it. And, I think it's that practice of taking that beat and going, I have some stuff I'm pretty grateful for.
I'm grateful for everything.
I'm trying.
That owes me nothing.
I'm
That
grateful
owes
for
me
you.
nothing.
You have taught me so much in an hour. I am really grateful to have had this conversation with you. I still have like 40 more questions and I'm going to have to end the interview, but I really hope you'll come back. I hope, when you write your second book, you'll come back here and chat about that too, as I really will look forward to talking to you again.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on the air. If you are listening to this, head over to our website, invisiblenotbroken.com. And if you click on this episode, you'll be able to purchase the book. It'll take you right to the Amazon link. And thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Be kind, be gentle, and in whatever way it looks like to you guys, be fierce. We will be back. We're considering doing 2 episodes again a month. We'll see how my health holds out.